Broadcasting from the heart of downtown Hollywood. This is SoFloRadio.com.
Inner Circle, Saturday night. The show was amazing. He's one of our guys. We do rentals for all the concerts that happen around town. Blacko, Steve Smith from Journey, Mike Marsh with the Avett Brothers worked here. Here with Smash Mouth, Foreigner, another clinic that we did with him. We won the Customer Service Award of all stores in North America in 2007. Maybe not the most famous drum store in the United States, but definitely the largest as far as drums are concerned. This is where we do anything and everything drums. 65 Ludwig kit, that's a vintage kit that we're resurrecting.
Welcome to Rick Show on the Radio, the only place where you get to listen to new music and new actors, what's going on in South Florida, right? And all kind of, people that are world shakers. And I got one of the biggest world shakers with me right now, Mr. Jeffrey Lee from Resurrection Drums. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Yay.
you. You're very kind, most kind.
All
world
right.
shaker, I like that.
Yeah, that's a term, that I use for people that are involved in the arts, but are giving back to the community. And as I understand it, you are very involved in the local community here, as far as like the city and organizations that help out youth and stuff like that. And we'll talk about that, right? Because I know you do a lot of that stuff.
Interested if there are any cloners out there that could make more of me. It would be beautiful. Give me more space, more time to do more of those things and be more involved in the music and the place I live, Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. We were just talking about that with, first of all, I want to, I'm going to tell you about my show and myself. My name is Rick Santees, and this is Rick's Show on the Radio. I've been a local musician here since, I moved down here in 68. When I got out of high school in the late 70s, I started playing around town. As a matter of fact, last Saturday, I went to Cheers up there in Fort Lauderdale, where they had a reunion of a band that I used to go see when I was first starting out in music, Tight Squeeze.
Sure, yeah.
Tight Squeeze, those guys, John Morello and Gabe and Kaz Candler was there, and Doc. And like some of those guys I haven't seen since then.
So what was the year like of their heyday? That was the 70s maybe?
Yeah, late 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, 78.
That was before my time here.
It was, yeah.
But no, I definitely know the band, and I know some of those guys as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been involved with the local music scene for a long time, made some really great friends that are also local world shakers, involved in music, but have gone into producing and also, larger areas of what they're doing now. They're not just musicians, but they're also involved in bigger things as well. And we're going to get some of those guys on the show later on, too. You know, my friend Tommy McWilliams.
Sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Tommy's great.
Yeah,
Tommy's
he's
my
a good
neighbor,
guy.
actually, too. Another Hollywood local boy.
Yeah. And so, my producer, I get called producer, George Rodriguez is here. He's hiding in the shadows, though. He's the one
famous George Rodriguez.
Yeah. It's funny that, this is like having like the famous guy be the producer and the unknown guy be the host. So he's just giving us a chance here, right?
It's a little backwards.
It's the way I like it.
Yeah, a little backwards here today.
Less work for me.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, this station, SoFloRadio.com, is probably one of the only places you're going to find that promotes local, musicians, local artists, and filmmakers. And we're all about our area, all about promoting what's going on around here. And it's not very, you try to turn on FM radio, turn on AM radio, see if they're talking about that. No, they're not. So we are. And Rick's Show on the Radio is the one that's, we're here for our musician friends and our actors and people like Jeff Lee here.
I love you, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad to be here, and I'm very happy to have the show with you, George. Thank you very much. And this is a great opportunity for me to.
We're happy to have you on here, man.
Thanks, man.
Lots more shows like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Or more of your show.
Well, it sounds like I think we're coming on to about a year now, aren't we?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm starting to get the hang of it. Starting to get some good guests on. I mean, I've had some great guests on in the past. Some really good up and coming musicians, and another World Shaker friend of ours, Judy Blem. You guys know Judy.
Sure.
She just sent me over some new musicians to bring on the show, and I'm looking forward to having those guys.
Very big in the entertainment business down here.
Maybe we'll get that young lady to come on and say a few things about the South Florida music scene. And that's the thing, is that there's a lot to talk about the South Florida music scene, and the a little bit of an apathy thing, I think, going on. It's not
Good
like
word.
There's not much going on here as far as like, hey, let's go listen to this band. And a lot of our good musicians and actors and producers that come up here, they end up leaving. This is just the let me get the hell out of here, so type of thing. And that's not good, because hey, this is a beautiful area. It really is. It has a lot to offer.
There's so much talent in South Florida, and as a professional musician coming from, I ended up in South Florida actually in a band on the road that was playing Florida. South Florida was one of our stops, and we had someone come out to see us that had a house gig opening in Key Biscayne. And of course, the difference in playing in a tourist area, heavy tourist area like South Florida, is your audience will change every week, as opposed to playing smaller towns where you have the same audience every week. You need the bands to change every week. And of course, you end up having road bands. And that's what I was in at the time. And it was a way to make more money. And we ended up getting a house gig on Key Biscayne. But it's true. There's so much work down here because of the tourist industry. But apathy is a good word, because I hear that a lot at Resurrection Drums. The kids, there's no place to play.
Yeah.
Especially with original. There's no real radio stations that are pushing.
Right.
I think the local NPR station has a great jazz show on live local jazz show on Friday afternoons, and that's a great thing that supports it. But this is great that you're doing this. It's an honor to be here and be part of it.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And we want to thank George again. And as a matter of fact, all the musicians and bands that come on here on the show, on my show and maybe in other shows, they get put into a regular rotation here. So you could listen to SoFloRadio.com on a regular basis and hear all kind of original music. Ain't that right, George?
Yeah, and it's very diverse. Get on here. We have everything from reggae to jazz, like you mentioned, just acoustic. Joe Alexander, for example, just the one-man guitar songwriter. Bands. A lot of the people that you brought in, like Cara, just which is pop, very very dancey. Chris, who brought us all together. He's an original musician. He's got a lot of really groovy music.
Yeah, Jim Camacho.
That we play on here, and going all the way back, we play Tough Luck on this station. We play Charlie Pickett and the Eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this area, and a lot of talent resides in this area. And I was playing and promoting local musicians when I was on the regular radio. I like a lot of the local musicians, the people that do talk radio in this town are also a casualty of the fact that radio doesn't want to do radio anymore in this town. They just want to be jukeboxes.
Yeah.
They'd rather compete with Pandora than pay attention to anything that's going on here.
And
Especially
aren't
right
most
here.
of them owned by the same company as
They
well?
are, and they don't want to
Clear
compete with each
Channel,
other.
or-
Right? You've got corporate country station one, corporate pop station one. That's it, and it's all being programmed and voiced from somebody outside the market.
And payola is illegal, so.
If management does it, it's legal. It's
Right.
just called,
What's the difference?
That's you're just buying air. It's if you do it without management sanction, that's what they have a problem with.
And how do bands break anymore like that when there's not a local?
Not down
really
here.
music scene?
They thank God for the internet. At least they can get on the internet. But it's a hard road to hoe if you're a young original band in South Florida. There's very few places that will cater to, let you guys have where is South Florida's CBGBs, right?
Yeah. Churchill's.
Well, yeah, there's that one.
But it was Tobacco Road, maybe, and Churchill's back and forth.
Tobacco
Now it's Churchill's. Culture Room to a lesser extent.
And
sort of
Revolution
Broward
has some shows what they'll do, and they'll tack on some local artist as an opening act, especially when they have other acts coming down. And being in the at Resurrection Drums, which is the quintessential drum store we're the only drum store in Florida left.
The only one left, huh?
Yeah, believe it or not. And we're one of the well-known around the world. In fact, recently, the new Amy Winehouse movie, there's an amazing, I don't know if you saw it on our Facebook page or not, but a good friend of mine that's an entertainment lawyer here in South Florida sent me my text went off Sunday morning. I'm sitting by the pool reading and on my day off and having a peaceful morning, and I get this picture of Amy Winehouse in one of the local studios, and it has a drum case hanging next to her head with Resurrection Drums logo on it. And he said, I went, he's a drummer, the attorney, so he went for his cell phone, and he goes, and it went off, and I couldn't believe it, but I just left the cell phone there, and then it came back, and you're on for like 30 seconds. If I had a quarter for every email, phone call I've gotten that, did you know you were on? Even when I sent out a blast about this show, people were hitting me back going, Jeff and Amy, did you know that Resurrection Drums? And we do a lot of that kind of facilitation, professional facilitation. And that's one thing that's also kind of a shame that the local scene doesn't get more support, because there's a lot of professional music things happening here, recordings. A lot of the bands, I mean, think about it. If you're Aerosmith and you're gonna make a record in January, South Florida, South Beach, and at night, and the studio being in the Hit Factory, and there's a bunch of great independent, smaller studios around town now, and we do a lot of that stuff because they fly into town. They need drums, and they don't need cookie cutter drums. They need
they want that.
There's a specified list of what they need, and I got all of it. I've got stuff. I've got stuff for movie. We do movie facilitation. If you need something that's Rock of Ages, they needed a 1982 Tama Superstar kit with those particular to fit the. You can't. If anybody's really looking at it, you want to try and get as authentic as you can.
Right.
We've done some videos in the 40s with some certain drum sets that match that criteria. And a lot of times we're like, what color?
Yeah, right.
You've been to the store. And you guys
well,
saw
we
the
show
video
that little video
bit.
that we shot, and I mean, you walk in there's drums everywhere.
Well, in fact, when you and I met, I said that I would come on your show under one condition: if you come to the store first.
Exactly.
Because
and I was glad.
People, when they don't really have an idea of what it's like and what we've built there,
right.
And it's a museum, it's a hang. I've had Phil Strange, who was one of the top jazz piano players in South Florida for many years. He's in Japan now. I think he was playing with Richie Cole, world famous jazz sax player. Was in my store once his son was taking lessons. Usually his wife would bring the son to take lessons, and he was in there one day, and I overheard him on his cell phone telling another fellow musician that he just walked in the back, and 6 of his favorite drummers in South Florida were all here having Cuban coffee and telling jokes and stories in the back. So it's a hang, and it's like I'm so blessed to be able to do it from being a professional drummer for 25 years, morphing into this.
Yeah, it's funny, since I've been down here for a long time myself, but I'm a bass player, so. Sometimes you just don't cross paths with people that have been down here for a long time. I mean, I've heard of Resurrection Drums for many years, and I think I might have gone in there, as a matter of fact, with our friend Tommy McWilliams, maybe one time, but I never really have. Okay, what do I need drums for? But but a lot of everybody that I know that's a drummer gets all their stuff from there. Yeah, some of the best and some of my best friends. Actually worked at your place as a teacher. Mark Poise is one of them.
Yeah. Mark's on the top tour in the country right now with Tyler Farr. I think #1 hit, Man Walked Into the Bar. Yeah. And what a sweet guy. And Mark's one of the many guys that taught at my store that have gone on to bigger and better things through out of University of Miami. Mm-hmm. I'm very affiliated with the University of Miami. It's all about the U.
I heard you say that before.
You won't find me at the store when the Hurricanes are playing football.
Is that it?
Yeah,
okay.
And a lot of the basketball too as well, and I love their baseball. But Steve Rucker, who's in charge of the drum set department down there, was many years with Ben Vereen and the Bee Gees. Mm-hmm. Amazing drummer, and what they've done down there. I mean, it's really the top music school on the collegiate level in the country and maybe in the world. And they do so many things, and the kids that come in my store in August trying to grow a little town.
Yeah.
He was actually on an airplane right now.
Oh, well,
That's
he
why
can't
couldn't
call
be
in
here
then,
now.
right?
No.
Oh, well. Well, we're going to definitely, I mean, I know this hour is going to zip by in no time because there's so much to talk to you about. History of, you know, where you came from and your involvement with the city. And then, of course, everybody and, you know, all the things about Resurrection Drums. And also there's other people that you've sponsored or that we can come. What I'm saying is I'd like to have you come back on a somewhat regular basis here, and maybe you could bring some of your proteges on.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've already reached out since we had the conversation, and there's so many of the guys that from here, and also, you know, what I'm involved with locally musically. I was a professional drummer for 25 years before I actually part of it coincided with being at Resurrection Drums because I started with 3 students on a Saturday in 1989 while I was still running the Y100 house band, so to speak, at the Bounty Lounge, which you and I spoke
Bounty,
about.
yeah, that's a long time.
That was a great club, and it was live music every night of the week. On the nights we were off, we had live music. We had a big band on Sunday night that there was lines to get in, and the people would be practicing their big band dancing in the parking lot for hours before we'd open the doors. And that was something that's a little bit lost now too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to do that, and to, you know, and some of the people and organizations that I'm involved with here in South Florida.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's get some of those people on because they really are starving for this promotion. And what I found, especially from the kids that come in my store and go, South Florida sucks, there's nowhere to play, and we just, you know, we're gonna go to L.A. or New York, and with the internet the way it is now, you know, you don't have to do those things as much as you did in the past.
True.
In Miami, there's actually a lot of producers. Florida, individually as well as bands, and you know, we're going to help get those out in the public. And I think that what's really lacking is this: a way to let people know what's going on, when it's going on, where it's going on. And I never envisioned Resurrection Drums becoming a community outreach program, but we have people calling us wanting to know, hey, who's playing where this weekend? What's going on? Our new Drums, rezdrums.com, because we have a, Georgia love this, a file folder of churches that misspell the word resurrection.
Really?
I have it, and sign companies, and we figured if churches can't spell the word resurrection, that we better go to something a little shorter. It's, yes.
Res Drums.
Yes, rezdrums, rezdrums.com, Z as in zebra. And we're going to, you know, do a thing where we're going to promote who's playing where. It's going to promote mostly the original thing. And then from there, there'll be no karaoke. I'm sorry if you're sequenced or if you're playing with a DJ that's not enhancing the music, but is like fooling the crowd. Yeah, it's not going to be allowed because we're only about live music.
Yeah. Now, tell me, Jeff, where are you from originally?
Richmond, Virginia.
And when did you get to South Florida?
Played drums all my life, and went to played drums in school all my life, did the marching band thing, which a lot of my guys do, and that's an amazing thing. I know a lot of kids down here, it's very weak, the high school marching programs and band music programs, and that's another show altogether because the government's been ripping the arts and the music out of our schools, which is just... It's a crime altogether. But it was so big where I came from, and it was so much fun. If you can imagine the weekends getting together with like 15 drummers, listening to Billy Cobham records, cleaning your drums, tuning your drums, talking about drums. It was like a fraternity. But I went to VCU on a full jazz scholarship with playing with the big band. I loved all kinds of music, and my parents were very much into jazz music. There was a lot of music. I'm the youngest of 4 kids that all listened to music and played music. Thank God. My sister's an amazing musician, singer, piano player, guitar player, and after VCU, they were really pushing me to do education. It was the one thing I really didn't want to do, and I ended up leaving school. I was an applied jazz major, which is a little bit like getting a degree in prostitution, I like to say, because after you get out,
What are you gonna do?
You committed yourself to 4 years of college, and that's admirable. But you're basically a good player, and it's not going to. No one's asked me to see a college degree to do any gigs or studio sessions that I've ever done.
Well, as a drummer, you can get work, but if you come out there as a trombone player or something,
well, the paper doesn't matter though.
Yeah.
Your attitude, your ability, is what really gets you those jobs. It's what really gets you those jobs. But it's and then I met a gentleman named George Tandy, who was actually we could do a show or many shows with George. Is down here. We went on the road with a band, and we ended up playing in Florida in the winter because we had a good band. We could choose where we were, so we were in Louisiana and Florida in the winter, and in the summers we'd go back up north and play the tourist areas: Nags Head, Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach, and those areas. So we fell in love with South Florida, and one of the other reasons we went on the road is we wanted to become an original pop band and become rich and famous and be on American Bandstand.
Sure.
And we were we thought if we got away from home, girlfriends, all the things, families, and just concentrated on music and would be living together in a van.
Band against the world.
Band against the world, that we could do better songwriting.
Yeah.
And we did fairly well, and we were about to record when we got an offer to do a house gig in Key Biscayne, a place called Stefano's. That was amazing.
What year was that?
1981-ish. I'm not the best with years, but it was around 1981 or so. And it was amazing because we were a top 40 band, but we all had gone to school and we all had played jazz in school, and that's what our major was. But we all loved all kinds of music, and we were successful at that. We realized to make the most money if you played top 40 back then, cover bands.
Yeah, that's true.
You could make the most money doing that. And that's what we did. But we would have a jazz night on Sunday nights, and that's when I got to meet so many amazing musicians here in South
there's
Florida
so
because it was
many
an
good
open
ones.
jam.
Randy Bernson, for one.
Randy's one of my favorite musicians in the world. I can honestly say I've never seen Randy cheat a note,
Yeah.
ever. I mean, every time, you know how you can be in a club and you just kind of, no matter how many times how great a musician or dedicated you are, is a time where you're just kind of mailing it in a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe the
sure.
audience doesn't care. Maybe there's a
Yeah.
sporting event on.
Doing
and
this over and over
nobody's paying
again.
attention. The band's threatening to play,
Yeah.
kind of thing, But Randy's amazing. He's one of my all-time favorite musicians.
Yeah. I think I approached him about coming on the show sometime, so that might happen. But he travels a lot, too.
He's a pilot.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
an aircraft
actually-
mechanic myself.
Really?
Yeah. I flew an airplane
The
by
show
myself
could go in a
once.
weird direction.
Yeah. You're interested in aviation?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying with you and Randy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we could turn it into
George and I'll go across the street and
Sure, we'll talk airplanes.
Yeah, we'll go to Gigi's.
Yeah. There's a lot of great musicians. As a matter of fact, the Pastorius brothers, from Jaco Pastorius himself,
Felix and Julius.
Yes,
yeah.
yep, those
Very
guys.
good friends. Yeah, Julius got his drums from me, of course.
Uh-huh.
Ingrid used to come. I actually have done. When I first started out, I did a few concerts with, and I spoke to this gentleman this morning, Bobby Thomas Jr. is also a local musician and a world-class percussionist who toured with Weather Report, played with Jaco, and he was a very close family member and helped mentor the kids. He had a band together. I actually would have concerts in my store before I built it up to what it is now, where it would take a day to move all the gear.
Right.
But we would clear the store out and do concerts. And I had Bobby Thomas with Tommy Toyama, who was a local vibe player, and Felix would play bass. Felix is in New York now and playing with everybody, the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
Lots of different guys. And Julius has a great band down here that's playing around town as well.
Right, yeah. You know what I like about Julius as a drummer? To me, I was a bass player. Drummers, I know there's different categories, but for me, I find there's two different categories I find drummers coming from. Either you're a Neil Peart drummer or you're a Stuart Copeland kind of drummer. Meaning, you're like, you got a big set and everything's all perfect and it's kind of like a scientist type of thing,
Right.
And then you have those the small set kind of slappy kind of drummers, I mean,
Right.
there's the funk guys and all that in between, and there's the power guys.
Right.
But usually I find that those guys, and I love listening to like Julius Pastorius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because he's come so far. I mean, since he was like a kid in my store, it's amazing. And that's been another thing that's been amazing for me to see some of these kids come up. And I was
Sure,
thinking
I'll
about
bet.
Mark Pose when we first
Yeah.
talked. He's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, is he? Huh?
Yeah, he's from the mountain there, like Scranton, maybe somewhere like that. And when he first came in, he was at University of Miami, and he would come in the store, and you get to see these kids blossom, and. But yeah, we kind of like define it as two different. I mean, there's so many different drummers. It's funny when you were talking about bass players, and I've had so many like bass players and other musicians come in my store going like, "Oh my God, why isn't there something like this for us?"
Yeah.
And drummers are a different breed a little bit, and there's so many things that you can have and so many things that you can walk into. I can walk into a club and see a drum set with no musicians on stage and get a pretty good idea of what the band's going to play or what they're going to be like, or maybe even what the drummer's going to be like. And that's not trying to cookie cutter everything, but really if you have to split it into two for us, for real drummers, I'd have to say that you have the guys that are the chops guys, and then you have the guys that are more concerned about the groove.
Right, that's true, yeah.
And I get that a lot when I get a lot of calls from bands and promoters and entertainment people that are looking for a certain drummer. And they'll, you have to be careful when you send people out as a
Sure.
reflection of your name, that you want to give guys that are going to do the job right. And even though you've got all those tools in your bag, how often do you need them when you're playing in a pop setting or, these type of things? So, yeah, that's really the two that for us kind of differentiate the drummers.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the reason that there's not a big thing for bass players is that nobody really cares. That's why, I can say that because I'm a bass player. I come from that race, so I can make racial epithets against bass players.
It may come as shocking to some of our listeners, but I actually play guitar. And it's I actually probably play more guitar now than I play drums because but Resurrection Drums takes up so much of my time with the other things that I do outside of Resurrection Drums, working with the city and with other musical organizations around town. It's that when I go home at night, I love to sing, and I was probably a better drummer than a singer, but I sang as much as I drummed. And I love to just pick up my guitar and play the guitar. It's a fun thing. Jeff, I'm searching for his last name now, A1A Guitars. I don't know if you've been over there or not. It's on US 1 in Dania. He has a lovely store. It's A1A Guitars and Art. And it's kind of hidden, but it's across the street from the tourist shop, like not Wings, but the one that has the big giant orange there.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but they sell seashells, So
really, down in South Florida, there's a place that sells seashells?
Yeah, believe it or not.
T-shirts
and puka shells. That's where I got these. But across the street is Jeff, and he's got a great place. He's the only Fender custom shop dealer in South Florida. Of course, we know about the big box stores that have come to town the last 10 or 12 years that most musicians aren't really crazy about because it's not really run by musicians. There's musicians that work there, but it's not the same focus on really taking care of the musician, listening to what you're looking for, and trying to help you develop your own sound.
Yeah. Remember Modern Music? That was a pretty cool place for a while.
A good friend of mine, Terry Bassett, that ran that, just emailed me 2 days ago and is actually going to Ludwig, which makes me happy because there's been a big turnaround in the drum industry with American drum companies coming back to the forefront. Which is awesome. Ludwig being one of those, which they build their high-end drums in Monroe, North Carolina, or George, as we said, Monroe, North Carolina, with an F, North Carolina. North Carolina. And my dad being from Raleigh-Durham, I can get away with that. Yeah. But it's, so Terry, and then Dave Wolf is another one of my favorite customers. You know Dave?
Yeah, I'm having him. Dave and John Tillman.
Well, Dave, Joe Moss.
Yep.
Actually, and Joe's brother's a famous drummer, played with the Rent, the Billy Joel Broadway show, and Joe's an amazing drummer and piano player. I think he does more piano playing and singing than anything, but Dave Wolf was with Wayne Cochran, another South Florida, going back to Miami, famous guy. Wow. That I love to go to get the kids at my store to Google Wayne Cochran, and it's the White James Brown.
Really?
Of that era. And Jocko played in that band. As a matter of fact, that's how Jocko became famous, so to speak.
Through that era,
that was pretty much how it happened, yeah.
Well, we obviously have a lot of history to go through here. We have some things to talk about as far as like your involvement with the the city, and maybe talk about some of the proteges that are coming through your studio there. But since see, look at that, 30 minutes went by already.
Wow,
man, oh man! If we let's just take a small break here, okay? At the bottom of the hour, this is Rick's Show on Radio on SoFloRadio.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Catherine B. from the Eco Revolution, where green consciousness is a revolutionary shift in paradigm to heal our planet and our personal well-being in this generation. Because what connects us to nature, to how we eat, and to how we live is the earth. And with every choice we make as conscious consumers, we can create a symbiotic living here on this planet to help her and to help us at the same time. So I'm calling all foodies, all slow cooking mamas, all wannabe gardeners, guerrilla gardeners, activists. This is it, Green Comrades. Join the Eco Revolution and follow me, Catherine B., in the Eco Revolution. Shift needs to happen.
Catherine B. and the Eco Revolution, Fridays 5 to 6 on SoFloRadio.com. Put a team of professional consultants behind your home or business computer with Key Information Solutions, providing solutions to your internet and computing needs while keeping you on the cutting edge of technology. Preventative maintenance and networking support, hardware and custom-built computers. Let Key Information Solutions be your personal tech staff for your home or office with affordable hourly, monthly, or annual rates to fit anyone's budget. Call Key Information Solutions now, 954-973-3374. That's 954-973-3374. Or visit keyinformation.com.
Hi, this is Zaina Dagaya, and I'd love to share with you about my good friend Nicole of Legit Fitness in-home training and yoga. She's a certified yoga teacher, and she's an amazing and experienced trainer that can design a program to fit your specific needs and goals. She's so cool. She's super committed to making fitness and health fun and accessible for everyone. Plus, your first week is free as a new client. Here's how you set up your first session. Either call 305-335-5590 or visit www.getlegitfit.com. GETLEGITFIT. Getlegitfit.com. 305-335-5590. Do it now!
Expand your green knowledge with Catherine B. and the Eco Revolution. Fridays 5 to 6 on SoFloRadio.com.
All right, we're back. And, I think we've decided here, George, that the go-to music for Rick's Show on the radio definitely got to be cut back. What do you think?
I think it fits. It's nice and it's local. It's punchy.
Yep.
It's it's surfy. It's Florida.
Very surfy.
And it's funky.
The guys in Cutback. You ever meet any of those guys? I think you'd love them. They're all our age.
I've heard of the band, and I'm not sure who the drummer is, which would help me out understanding who that is a little bit better. But there's no surf down here.
Well,
by the way, I want to add, since the guy that was sitting where Jeff is right now, and you had him on the show, he named our microphone array the Spider.
Yeah.
So this is the Cutback commemorative Spider microphone array.
Awesome. Yeah, since we're all about drums here, looks like we got your little drum set set up.
Yeah, well, George had this here ready to go.
My rim shot set in case
be tuned up a little bit, but
in case someone says something funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wait for it; it'll happen.
Somebody will say something funny eventually.
We have an hour.
Yeah, half an hour now. So, come on, let's hear something funny.
Something funny.
Yeah,
comedy.
So anyway, now let's get back to the drum store there, okay? And I know that when did you start Resurrection Drums?
I didn't. Resurrection Drums was started in a warehouse on Ravenswood Road, which is just west of the Hollywood Fort Lauderdale airport, which Defo loves to talk about that because it has like 50 names that airport, but I think we all know what we're talking about.
Fort Lauderdale, Dania.
Yeah. That you have to, and it was a warehouse that his brother-in-law was actually a cabinet maker. Went to pick him up one day because his car was in the shop, saw him putting some Formica on a cabinet and said, "Man, you think you could do that with drums? We could make money resurrecting drums." And that's kind of how it started.
Really?
And there was a knock at the door a few months later. The state of Florida said they were putting a highway through there, and they gave them a check to move the store, $5.95. And they went to Hollandale and opened the first Resurrection Drums there, which was a full line. The first time that manufacturers would consider putting their drums in there, and it became a full-line drum store and a drums-only drum store. And again, if you think about a place to have a full-line drums-only drum store, South Florida, with the influence of the Cuban, Puerto Ricans, and I love it when you get the Cubans on one side of the store and the Puerto Ricans, and they don't do the clave right, and they're looking at each other. It's a wonderful thing. And for a drummer, for me specifically, we kind of started to talk about this a little while ago and got off track, which is easy for us to do.
Yeah.
The audience has figured out. They're changing the dial.
Yeah, they don't do that.
But I'm just kidding. But there's a...
Yeah.
There it is. And we have a Guido here, too.
Yeah.
The Guido with the water bottle. But the amount of amazing drummers and musicians in South Florida because of that, the Brazilian rhythms. And, we'll talk about the drum circle a little bit. But that's part of what we're able to do there is just, introduce people to that. And for a drummer, especially a gringo, a blonde-haired, gray now, blue-eyed gringo, to come here, I was the minority in South Florida. To be a gringo, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, you too, minority. And to be immersed in what's going on here with the different, styles and genres. And these cats, man, these Haitians get off the boats with handmade instruments. And learning that stuff was just... It was amazing. I lived in L.A. as a professional drummer for a few years, and it didn't hold a candle to the type of stuff I saw here and what I learned here.
A lot of rhythm going on, especially in the South Beach area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was in Coconut Grove when I first started out here. So
Miami
that whole
Sound Machine.
Yeah,
that whole
Latin and the real salsa music, which there's a lack of that even going on these days as well. So
yeah. Well, we've seen that this area change quite a bit. I mean, from the style of music, the places that musicians can play.
Right.
I think we discussed a little bit about, like when I started, I mentioned that it was back in the late 70s. And there was a place called Tight Squeeze, with the band Tight Squeeze, and there was a few places around. Oh, there was a cover bands, but there was some more original acts and original venues back then. And then there went away in the 80s. I think in the 90s there was a resurgence of original music venues. That's when I was playing with bands like Black Janet, and then there was other bands that that came up.
Washington Square and South Beach had a lot of that.
Right.
Okay, remember the Treehouse?
Art
Stock's Playpen. That was the first place I ever went to where you would go. There was no DJ because there were two bands. And on either end of that room, they had bands that were just like hellacious rock bands that would play the cover tunes of the day, but they also had their original tunes.
Yeah.
And as soon as one would finish, the other would go on.
Right. You usually have a disco band on one side and then a rock band on the other.
Yeah. And every time I went, it was both rock, but that's a good thing. Y'all, you guys, yeah.
Yeah, the kids used to play down there. That's
Yeah, with
what's that guy's name?
Edward Scissorhands.
Johnny
Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
Johnny
Yeah, that's
Depp was
it,
a guitar player. I met Johnny Depp before I even knew who he was playing at a gig down here. Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
And Billy Levacy is one of my good friends. He's another one of those guys that I've known way back when that we didn't really hang out that much until like lately.
Right.
When he came on, and when I started getting into the film business, I was looking for somebody to write a theme song, and he came along, and we go, yeah, I know you from way back when, and we became good friends. He's a great musician. He's from that era back then. He knows all those guys.
Yeah, well, that was the store actually opened on Hollandale and I-95 in like 83. I always shopped there. I was a professional musician, so I was lucky enough to get a studio gig in the mid-80s. Studio Center working with Gary Vandy, who I don't know if you know Gary, but Gary's like
heard of that name.
The greatest drum engineer of all time. I'll never forget when he asked me, I finished tuning my drums, and he's like, so I said, okay, go ahead, you guys, tear the heads off, put the blankets in them, put the tape. He was like, are you happy with the way they sound? And I'm happy, and it just was amazing. But I ended up doing singing and playing drums there for a while until it turned into a video studio. Video killed the radio star days. But Resurrection at Hollandale was they did very well. Opened another store in Miami, which was pretty much Spanish speaking. Was amazing. Every time you'd call there, they'd have to stop the jam, from going on. And some of the top drummers in Latin America and South America would live there when they were in Miami. And then I moved the store, closed. That store ended up closing down. It just kind of died out after a while. That area changed. Right. And we turned it into one big giant store here in Hollywood, just off of west of 95, north of Pembroke Road, in 2008. And that's where you visited, and that's where we've been ever since. And it's the largest drums-only drum store in North America, and there's ones with larger square feet, but nobody has as many drums as we have. And especially with what we do, because we build drums,
right? And
we still resurrect drums, but animal skins. We had goat skins out on the floor yesterday from Africa, picking them out to redo some djembes that we're going to be tying for some different things going on. So anything drums we do, new use, lessons, of course, we talked about, all of those things. And it's, again, I'm blessed to love being there and there pretty much every day.
Now, how do you get involved with, like the city of Hollywood? I know you do some things through there, right?
I was arrested. Just kidding, Mom. No, I actually, I did an event. As you know, I'm very passionate about music and music education in the school system, and especially lately because, man, I've had some kids come through my store that have gone on. I was lucky enough last month to have Dr. Ron Weber from the South Florida Jazz Organization let me get on stage when the Clayton brothers were in town at the Miniachi Theater and introduce the drummer Obed Calvert. And the reason I was able to do that is that Obed was a young man that a good friend of mine, Marty Ricola, who's Jimmy's brother, was a math teacher at a local middle school in the inner city in Carroll City, saw a young drummer playing there, went up to him, asked him what was going on, where did he learn to play? Yeah. Didn't have drums, didn't really have a strong family background to help him, pursue what his gift was. Marty gave him drums, would drive from his house every Saturday, pick the kid up, bring him to Resurrection Drums, where he studied with Matt Calderon, another local great musician, drummer and guitar player, went to University of Miami, and take him home, got him with Jim Gazer at New World School of the Arts, ended up going to Manhattan School of Music and got a master's degree in music, came out and was playing with Wynton Marsalis.
Oh, man, that's
And I got
great.
to get up there and introduce that kid, and Marty was there, and I got to get Marty to stand up and embarrass him.
That's great.
And, because if he made a difference in this kid's life, this kid, no telling who would have been playing drums or where this kid would be if someone hadn't taken the time to do that. And that's my biggest problem with the school system is that they're just cookie cuttering. Of course, you need to learn to read and write, but there's so many kids that aren't gifted in those areas but are very gifted in these other artistic areas. And the other kids, it's just a balance of education. So I was very passionate about that, and I put on came up with another group of drum stores across the country, and we put on an event called the Big Beat Event. And it was basically it was the largest drumming event in the history of the world. We had 15 cities come together and ask drum set players, not like a drum circle where you bring one drum out on a backpack, but bring your full drum set and bring it and set up, and we all played together through video conferencing. And the thing is that I had this vision, when the store started talking about it, they were like, I'd get a gymnasium, 25 drummers would be great. But I had this vision, I don't like to do things small, of the Arts Park. Tenting the Arts Park, circus tenting it, having it be like a festival. And we did it there for 3 years, and it was absolutely amazing. I had what you do, which is accentuating the top drummers down here. Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden came out and helped us every year. He lives here. One of my golf buddies.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. And
great barbecue store, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Rock and Roll Ribs in Coral Springs. Absolutely amazing.
We should get him on the show.
We can do that.
Yeah,
we can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
He would love to come down. But there was Derek Roddy. Derek Roddy, fastest feet in the world, one of the greatest drummers you'll ever see with the blast beats, and he's played with a million different bands, and he came down, and then we just had all these great drummers come out, and we raised money that we buy drums for schools that the government had cut back the program. So to do that, I had to go through the city.
Right.
And man, everybody was so awesome about my vision.
Great.
And they loved the idea. And then I got this bill of what it was going to cost me. And I sat down because I was always pretty good at numbers. And I made an Excel spreadsheet of what they were charging me and then what was going back into their pocket, basically. You know, like, oh, you're going to charge me to use the Arts Park. I'm going to do an event in the Arts Park that's going to bring people there. Okay, so let's knock that one out. Let's get rid of that one. And for many years, I also donated drums to all the festivals. At one point, Hollywood did more live music per capita than any city in the United States.
Yeah, down on the circle there.
Well, our Clam Bake event, which was a 3-day live music event, our Mardi Gras was 7 days of live music from 12 noon on Monday till the following Sunday at midnight. I mean, you could go down to the beach at Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There would be a band playing on a stage. Everybody that performed in New Orleans on Friday night, we had here on Saturday night. It was Dr. John, Dirty Dozen Brass Band, Cowboy Mouth. I mean, we had some of the top musicians, and we would literally have one of my guys on a scooter that would go from one stage to the other because we would stagger the sets at half hours back and forth. So, you know, I got to know the mayor. I got to know some of the people in the city of Hollywood, and they found out a couple of things. First of all, I love where I live. My house is in Hollywood. I live in Hollywood. My store's a mile away in Hollywood. You know, as you know, I love to play golf. Hollywood Beach Country Club right here. And it's so everything fit together, and I'm now on the board with working with promoting Art Walk.
Excellent.
I do a full moon drum circle. That's tomorrow night, 7 to 9 at the Arts Circle. Sometimes we'll have 300 people that show up.
Where's it at now?
Arts Park, which is Joseph Young Circle, right?
Oh, just down the street here.
Right down the street on where US 1 and Hollywood Boulevard intersect. We're on the west side. There's no corner in the circle, but on the west side, bring a drum out, come out. We provide chairs. We have a PA, and we teach you about drums and drumming. We always do a close-up on a drum from talk about the history of the drum in the world, and we get 200, 300 people playing. We do a kids drum circle where we introduce kids to drums and drumming, and it's powerful, man. It's amazing. Our Art Walk event in Hollywood's growing. We work with a world famous artist named Daniel Pontet, who won the Heineken mural competition in the United States of America.
He's been here in the studio a lot, by the way. Just so you know. It's Kent Wallace who's involved.
Kent Wallace, yes.
And they're going to be here tomorrow. I don't know if Daniel's going to be here, but Kent and his art throng will be here tomorrow, promoting a show that's going on over here at the new, it used to be the wine bar. And now it's the coffee bar.
Yeah.
You know, if you know Rich Duncan from South Africa over there.
Yeah. And
so they'll be promoting that tomorrow here on my.
And Kent's events are beautiful. I mean, they're very artsy, and it's a great group of people, cutting edge, and that's what we need here in South Florida. He's all about it, you know. And so, that's a cool event. And basically, that's I just love live music. I love where I live, and I love to get involved. And these are also people becoming involved with the government is where I can get help when I need it for some of these other events that we need to raise awareness.
So there's some people in local government here that's interested in promoting the arts. Then, huh?
The mayor's amazing.
Yeah,
the mayor has had me in his office that he wants to turn downtown into the Austin. His exact words are, the live music go-to destination of South Florida.
Why not?
And it's hard because all of these buildings where we're sitting, which we were sitting on Hollywood Boulevard downtown, in case you guys didn't know that out there in Radio Land, we're right here in the heart of it, and it's just not enough live music. But a lot of the buildings are owned by different things, and you can't tell owners what to do, so it's going to be a slow process.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about Hollywood is that, compared to some of the other places you can go in South Florida that are happening, where there's great restaurants, lots of choices, lots of different music choices, it's not too crazy, it's not too crowded. You can always find, parking, and you can always get in, and it's not, to me, that's important, because fighting crowds it's something when I was younger was a cool thing, but for now it's like, it's just right. It's like just the happy medium, and that's why I love where I live.
So there's a couple places around here that are good for music, aren't there? I mean, I know there's this bar up the street, but it doesn't have a name that
The Octopus? The Octopus had music for quite some time.
No, the other place that keeps changing names. It used to be the Native Florida Tap Room.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And-
talking
Oh,
about.
well,
Yeah,
when,
what's
when
going
I
on?
had,
Kilmo's place.
when I had that meeting with the mayor, that's one of the first things I said is get Kilmo in here, because
Yeah.
Kilmo knows everybody in South Florida.
Kilmo Doom.
When you would go to Kilmo's, when you would go to Kilmo's bars, or one of the bars that he used to have, Alligator Alley up in
Right.
Fort Lauderdale, all the musicians would hang out
Oh
there.
yeah,
And
Everything.
that's one of the first things I told the mayor is that, we need to find a place like that where you would get these people coming here. Because if you get them, you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the truth when it comes to that. And that was a really good thing that, it really didn't work out the way we thought it would. And that's one of the problems with Hollywood now, that we're really trying to concentrate. And that's one of the reasons that I'm getting involved, is trying to make some things stick.
Right.
That what we're doing to have a good club that could have really good jazz. Sushi Blues for a long time was an amazing place at Kinney,
Right,
world-class
Kenny
jazz
Mil- Kenny
musician.
Millions place.
Kenny Millions.
Yeah.
So it's just that these things, it's fledgling a little bit, but we're trying to get some of these things to stick. And
well, if you have somebody like the mayor behind it, that might help out a bit, don't you think?
yeah, and the new amphitheater at the Young Circle, the Arts Park, there's a lot of live music there. We've had some amazing shows. Galactica with Stanton Moore was there recently. I've never seen
there for
so
that
many
show.
people in the park, and that's like
Amazing show. right?
amazing show. And Monolith was there, Monolithic, I think, from San Francisco. I'd never heard them live. They blew me away. And I mean, they've had some punk shows there. We've had some Brazilian artists in, and Spanish artists for different things. The Caribbean Fest, Inner Circle, our good friends, they're South Florida now. Circle House Studios in Opelika. Those guys
the
are great.
that dragon themed thing that they
Dragon
did?
Drums,
Right.
yeah. Yep, Chris Huspeth,
I think
I'm sure was
diversity would be the name of the game down here. If I could walk up and down and go, well, here's a country bar, here's a heavy metal bar, here's an alternative music bar, here's a jazz place, that would be awesome. Or maybe one place
Well,
that
that's
had
like the
different
Austin.
nights.
That's like the Austin vibe,
Right.
To have a little bit of everything and just have it be homegrown.
Right,
So that's
exactly.
kind of what we're going for and what we're working towards. And it's just not easy. It's especially with the recession. All the stuff we're talking about is live music took such a hit when the recession hit, because sequencing came up and you could just like program the bass. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah, no, that's another thing. And I know we're getting towards the end of the show, but I'd love to talk about music technology throughout the years and how, I mean, sure, we came up through the 80s, and the first musician to go, unfortunately, was the drummer, with the bass player soon behind, because, they got drum machines, and now you end up with, now it's a DJ mentality. Now there's all these places, and they hire DJs, and that's the thing. And why wouldn't they do that? They can spend $100, $200 on a DJ and get a lot of kids in there. Whereas, you got 4 or 5 guys in a band, and what are you going to give them? $75 a piece, $100. You know what I'm saying? It's
and
tough.
it's changed the mentality of the youth, which is where music. I mean, I remember finding out and blowing me away when I was a young man that the number one buying age group for buying records was 12 years old. Yeah, and think about it. I mean, when you were 12 years old, that's when I would buy. That's all I did was buy records.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I would play along with my drums on the headphones. But there's some DJs out there now that are going to some of these clubs in South Beach and stuff and making like.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not talking you're talking thousands of dollars.
They're also
and
making these machines. Like, I was in the music store the other day, right? And there was a group of kids gathered around a drum machine, and a guy was pressing buttons. He'd press this button and press that button, and they were jamming. They loved it, because it wasn't just drums. It was like, some demonic voice or whatever. There's all this, it
Sampled
sounded like
sounds,
like a big rap thing or something. And all they have to do is press the button,
As opposed to 10,000 hours putting into learning an
Right.
instrument and having that,
Right, and then being unique enough that, and that's a shame, is that we have a lot of really, really good musicians that are really, really good, but there's a lot of them, and that's a shame. Not very many of them stick out. Like there was one other musician from down here I'd like to mention, Dave Shelley.
Yeah.
He is, to me, I mean, I've heard a lot of blues guys, but it's, and a lot, but locally, he's got this thing, man. He plays from his heart. You can tell.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, it's like you put that up to a DJ or something, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
And like to send out our thoughts and prayers and best wishes to
Yeah.
Dave and his family. Dave's very ill and not doing well right now. So
That's a shame.
yeah,
too, 'cause he's a young guy.
Well, it's been a huge
Relatively.
hit on South Florida not having him
Yeah.
in the clubs, and then he was one of the hardest working men in show business down here,
yeah.
and just an icon.
Very well respected.
And what a sweetheart, man.
Yeah. Let's send our thoughts and prayers go out to Dave Shelley and his family. Yeah.
Yes, amen.
All right. Well, I think that maybe you and I should come back on a somewhat
In 10
regular
minutes.
basis. Yeah, 10 minutes.
Bathroom break. And
Yeah. And talk about all the other things that we have to talk about here.
So
'cause
many
there's a lot.
things and so many people we can have on to help us promote
Yeah.
this scene and get it going. I'm all into it. And thank you so much for both of you guys for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah,
to be
sure.
on your
No,
show.
I think we're going to do that. So after the show, we'll talk about it.
We can talk about my
And
beard.
Talk about your beard. Did anybody wanted to know about the beard? I saw there's a bunch of Facebook posts about that.
I told them on the face, they said, does Jeff have a beard? Does Jeff have a... And I put on there, tune in today, SoFlo Radio, and find out if Jeff has a beard.
Yes.
So I guess that we have videos.
It's
so
a nice beard too. I mean, it's not
It's
patchy or anything.
I told these guys I've never been able to grow a beard. And all of a sudden, I can.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Is that usually when we get older, hair starts growing in places like your ears. Maybe.
Well, it just
you're
proves
lucky.
that God doesn't like my wife.
really.
Well, she doesn't like a beard. What
yeah.
women like beards, really?
Yeah, well, mine
You know?
does actually. She likes my beard.
Yeah, well, yours is the GQ soft
It is.
cut.
It is.
Like
yeah.
a hint. It's a hint. It's not a
No,
Ernest
it's not.
Hemingway
No, it's not.
burly man
Yeah.
beard.
I'm thinking I might do that though.
I was at Jack's Diner the other day, and there was a guy that literally had one like braided down to here, and I interrupted him and got a picture.
Yeah?
And yeah, it's he told me 7 years, and he's going to let it go to the floor. I
Really?
wish I could have seen his mother's face when he said that, but
I'm thinking about going for that look. I'll just grow it out. Maybe gain a little weight. Maybe start wearing red and white a lot.
yeah.
What are you going
Eating
for there?
fried
What do you think?
chicken, maybe. Selling fried
Yeah.
chicken.
No, I was going for Santa Claus.
Yeah, I
what were
was-
you
oh,
going
I-
for?
I was going for
Santa
Colonel
Claus.
Sanders.
Oh, no.
Although-
Yeah, I would say you got more of a Colonel Sanders look. Although
Yeah?
I've gotten the Santa Claus thing a couple of times, but I've lost a bunch of weight, so that's going to have to pillows
All right.
and
Next time, though.
thrift shop.
All right. Well, Jeffrey Lee, thank you very much, sir.
Honor.
I think that this is a great show, and we look forward to having you on the future here. Maybe you can bring some of your young or older proteges, and we could talk about the South Florida music scene. You got anybody in mind or anybody?
Well, I'd like to make one plug. All
Sure,
That
yeah.
Jazz, owned by a bass player from University of Miami. The name eludes me right now. But Jazz Encounters, Nicole Yarling is one of my favorite people in South Florida. No one does for music in South Florida, music education, the kids, what Nicole Yarling does. From Art Serve with Gold
Yeah.
Coast Jazz Society,
I see.
Jam for the kids
Okay.
that I'm involved with the first Friday of every month during school. Her band, the Jazz Encounters Big Band's playing tonight at All That Jazz from about 7 to 10, and that's on Oakland Park and Hiatus. I don't have a phone number for you, but I saw it on Facebook before I came over.
Right.
Nicole's somebody we're going to have to get on, and you're going
Sure.
to fall in love.
All right.
She toured with Jimmy Buffett for many years playing violin and singing, but she also was produced by Joe Williams, the world-famous jazz singer, and the last thing he sang on before he passed, and it was number 7 in the jazz charts. But she knows everyone down here, teaches at University of Miami, voice,
Great.
and Florida Memorial. But what she does for the kids, I don't know how she sleeps. Talk about cloning. She's my hero.
Yeah.
So if you're free in the area, you're looking for somewhere to go tonight or something to do, check this place out. It's owned by a musician. You'll be supporting musicians from top to bottom.
All right. Let's do it. Let's make that, and let's bring Nicole on.
Will do.
Jeff, thanks for coming on the show. Really
My pleasure.
appreciate it. It's
Thank
Jeffrey
you.
Lee from Resurrection Drums.
George
and-
is my hero.
Yeah, Joe. And George and SoFloRadio.com. You're our hero, and we appreciate you.
Aw, shucks.
Yeah.
Best producer ever. Most expensive.
That's true. Well,
Underpaid. The most expensive underpaid.
that's right.
Yes.
All right, folks. That's it for the show today. So I'm not sure who's going to be on next, but it's going to be somebody great from the area. And Jeff's going to be back, right, Jeff? You're going to be back on a regular basis.
Too much
here.
fun.
All right, then. Thanks a lot. This is Rick Santee signing off, SoFloRadio.com.
Circle Saturday night. The show was amazing. He's one of our guys. We do rentals for all the concerts that happen around town. Black Hole, Steve Smith from Journey. Mike Marsh with the Avett Brothers worked here. Here with Smash Mouth Foreigner, another clinic that we did with him. We won a customer service award of all stores in North America in 2007. Maybe not the most famous drum store in the United States, but definitely the largest as far as drums are concerned. This is where we do anything and everything drums. 65 Ludwig kit, that's a vintage kit that we're resurrecting.
From the beautiful city of Hollywood, Florida, USA, this is SoFloRadio.com.